at Coop Sheet Metal, we believe our job is very essential in serving our customers. And that is just one reason why visiting us is an experience to be remembered.
Here at Coop Sheet Metal, we have a reliable fleet of trucks. We specialize in countrywide delivery of all our material.
Coop Sheet Metal is a family business that was started by my grandfather, who even had many of his machines hand-built decades ago to make our products the most reliable in Belize. Come visit us at our new facility on Iguana Creek Road, just past the Belize River leading to Spanish Lookout.
Fleas and ticks are the worst enemies for dogs and their owners. With NexGard, you have the weapons to fight effectively. NexGard is an FDA-approved flea and tick killer in a beef-flavored soft chew. It is manufactured by the same makers of Frontline Plus. NexGard offers safe and effective protection against flea and tick infestation for at least 30 days. The delicious beef-flavored chew makes it easy to administer to your dog. NexGard is designed to treat and prevent flea infestations and to treat and control ticks in dogs and puppies 8 weeks of age and older. NexGard is available in 4 sizes of beef-flavored soft chewables. Each size is color-coded and contains 3 tablets. Available at Reimers Feed Mill countrywide. Visit us at your local branch. Reimers Feed Mill, where growing Belize.
At WestTrac Belize City, we are looking to help you save both your time and money. We've also improved our stock levels to ensure we have everything you might need for your automotive or agricultural needs. Additionally, WestTrac has added heavy-duty and industrial parts to keep your trucks and equipment running. At WestTrac Belize City, we understand that your time is important, so we want to bring our services to you at your convenience. Now you can simply send us a message on WhatsApp or Facebook and we will be right there to help with any questions you may have.
Did you know that your Sagicor advisor can help you plan how to make your golden years your best years? Call a Sagicor agent today.
Life moves fast. Be prepared with Sagicor. Learn more at sagicorlife.com.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Matters. Our guest this morning is attorney at law, lecturer and training consultant, a politician who's the former mayor of Belize City and now the president of the Senate, Mr. Darrell Bradley. Mr. Bradley is a son of the soil. He grew up and had his early education in Belize City. He later traveled abroad for his higher education. Mr. Bradley holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Sociology and International Studies, a postgraduate certificate in Education, and a Master's of Art in Public Policy and Administration, all from the University of St. Louis. After completing all that training, he decided to be a lawyer and got his LLB from the University of the West Indies in Barbados and a certificate of legal education from the Norman Manley Law School in Jamaica. He also served as Vice Chairman of the Commonwealth Local Government Forum, President of the Belize Mayor Association, Vice President of the Belize Bar Association, among other things. Mr. Bradley has been an election monitor in Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka. Mr. Bradley, good morning and welcome.
Good morning and thanks always for being here.
Well, this is a good time for at least a short time, you know. How are you this morning?
I can't complain. I mean, it's a little bit cool, the weather is good, and life is good.
Life is good. Darrell Bradley, a lot of people feel like they know you because they know a lot about you, but they really don't know you. This morning we will get to learn yet a little bit more about you. Where were you born, and what was your elementary school days like?
I was born in Belize City. I grew up on South Street, actually. I grew up right on the corner of South Street and Wagner's Lane. And I had a very happy childhood. I was one of 4 children. I have 2 brothers and a sister. And life was good growing up. I went to St. Ignatius Primary School first. I remember my experiences there. One of the things that really kind of scared me was my mom was my principal, so she was very strict with me. But I had a very good time growing up. We then moved to another part of Belize City where I still reside to this day. And I mean, I have a good family life. I have a good relationship with my siblings, my parents, and so forth, and everybody's in good health.
As a child, what were your aspirations? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I thought when I was younger, I would have been something in the sciences. I think a lot of parents back in those days used to push their children to, especially in high school, take the three sciences, biology, chemistry, and physics. And I always was kind of like leaning toward that direction. And I got a stumbling block when I was in my physics course in high school. I couldn't pass the course. And I realized that I really didn't like sciences. And I had a few teachers who were really instrumental in my direction. And then I started to take more subjects in the social science, and that kind of pushed me in a new area where I wanted to go. And I felt that I did really well in those areas. And then that's where I am now.
You seem to be a very disciplined man. What do you attribute this to?
Well, I attribute a lot of my discipline really to my parents. I think my mom is somebody who has always been steadfast. My dad, likewise, in terms of really rearing us in the proper way, ensuring that we are good parents, ensuring that we're good people, ensuring that we're hard workers. I remember one of the things my dad used to always tell us is the story of our grandmother. My grandmother spent her entire life cleaning a church, and she herself was very disciplined, and she raised her children. All of her children grew up to be public officers, people in the public service, nurses and teachers and so forth. And so I really got that example from my parents and my family to say that, well, what you do is that you just really serve your country, you really work hard, you're a disciplined person, and you just work for what you want to achieve in life. I've seen people in my family do that, my parents, my uncles, my aunts, my grandparents, and that really is the example that I saw all my life. And that's something that I try to instill in my own children, that if you want something in life, you just work hard for it and you're going to get it.
I hear what you say, but a lot of times it doesn't matter how straight your parents are. You have friends, you go out, you socialize, boys, and say, Darrell, don't listen to your mother. Your mother really don't know. We know. We're smarter than she. When you were faced with those challenges, how did you handle it?
Well, I wouldn't say that growing up I was the perfect child. So, I mean, I had gotten my series of troubles. I got my lashings. I mean, I wasn't a perfect person. And I think in life, mistakes are actually teaching tools. And in school, I made mistakes. When I was on the street, I made mistakes. And you just learn from them. And one of the benefits really, I really felt that I had parents, especially my mom and my dad as well, who really kind of encouraged me and supported me when I went wrong. And you can, as a child, I think, go off the beaten path. But if you have that real environment that is just forgiving and supportive, that would tell you to know, you know what, I can make mistakes, but as long as I don't live in the mistake, and as long as I learn from it and I come back to the path, then that is what makes it worthwhile. And I owe a lot of my success really to my parents. I mean, I think that even I see in terms of my brothers likewise, I mean, we always talk about it, they've made mistakes in their life. And our parents really brought us back to where we know that we could accomplish everything if we just really believe in ourselves and we work hard. You can make mistakes in life, but just don't be the mistake, I think.
What was it like moving to St. Louis for the time that you did?
Well, it was scary. I think coming from Belize, and that would have been about 20 years ago, technology wasn't the way it is. I remember cell phones used to be very big. At the time, it was very expensive. So I used to only be able to call home probably once a week. I mean, it was actually a difficult time for me. It was the first time that I lived in a city. St. Louis had light winters, but it was still very cold. And you were away from home. I wasn't the best. Even today, I'm not the best cook. So you have to kind of miss your food, you miss your family, you miss your friends, you miss what you know. And the environment, I see it even going on today in the United States. St. Louis is a very culturally different environment than Belize. In Belize and in the Caribbean, we're very used to multiculturalism, and we're used to people looking like ourselves, and going in an environment, sitting in a classroom where you have 150 students and you're the only black person. That's kind of that was a new experience for me. I mean, St. Louis does have its diversity, but it's a city that is in the Midwest, and it's predominantly Caucasian. So it was really a culture shock. But again, it's an environment that it's challenging, but you learn from it. And I really enjoyed my time there. I have a lot of friends that I still keep in contact with at that point, and it was just a growing experience for me. I would encourage a lot of people from Belize to really get an experience outside the country. I think it can teach you a lot to look at your society from a different lens, how other people outside look at it. I think a lot of times people in Belize just think the world is Belize, and you realize that there's a whole world out there with different people and different ideas. And I think even today, when I have certain views or opinions on certain things, it is because I've gone to different places and I've experienced how different people would react to the same situation, and you can bring that insight to a challenge.
You said you were sitting in a classroom where there were primarily white people. What was the race relationships like then?
Well, I think it was still very good. When you're in a university, it's a controlled environment. So that it's even St. Louis University is in Midtown St. Louis, and Midtown St. Louis is a very challenged part of St. Louis. But the university itself is very insulated. So notwithstanding the fact that there would have been issues there, you're in a safe space. And I had experience I was very active with the International Student Association. I was president of that association. So I met people from all over the world at St. Louis University. I also was very active in the Black Students Alliance. And you really try to reach out to people who are similar to you, but likewise, you also try to reach out to people who are different from you. So that I think the university did an excellent job in trying to promote diversity and multiculturalism. And I really felt that I grew in my experience there.
Did you get a scholarship to go to that university?
Yes, I did. And
how did you earn it?
I appreciate my experience as I got a Jesuit scholarship. So I used to be called a Jesuit scholar, and you have quite a bit of individuals every year. St. John's College, I think it's about 10 scholarships that they give to different Jesuit universities throughout America. And the scholarships are actually given because of the partnership and the relationship the Jesuit community has made in Belize with those universities in the United States. And so I received that scholarship for my undergraduate studies. And then when I finished that, I received a graduate assistantship to do my master's also at St. Louis University.
Sounds like you were having a good time, and a lot of people that have that kind of good time generally don't return right away. Why did you?
Well, I love my country. I mean, I think it is something where one wants to be of service to your community. I'm not saying that you just want to return home. And I would advocate people taking that time to live abroad. I think it opens your perspective. But at the end of the day, I think I was 21 or 22 when I got my master's degree, and I wanted to return home to Belize. And I returned home, and my first job was teaching at St. John's College. And I love teaching. I got that from my mother, and that was 20 years ago. And I still teach to this day, because I think that in life, one of the best things that you can do is to be a mentor or a teacher. If you get certain experiences in life, I think the blessing of it is that you share it. And so my first job really was to work at St. John's College when I think I was 21 years old, teaching people who were not that younger than me. I was teaching people who were 17, 18, 19. So people used to always mistake me for a student.
You got your master's degree, and most people, when they got their master's degree, they're happy. They'll be fine in that field. But you then went on to say, you know what? No, I really want to be a lawyer. Why?
Well, I always liked law. I mean, that's one of the things. I think I had mentioned this before, that when I was younger, I think a lot of parents pressure their children to go into the sciences. But when I kind of reached of age around maybe like 15, 16, when you're kind of searching for your own self, and I started to realize that I really liked social studies. I remember when I started to go into social studies. I remember that I liked literature. I think my third form literature teacher was Miss Agnes Arana, and she really kind of like opened my eyes to an appreciation of the social sciences. And from then, I really liked public speaking. I really liked reading and analysis and presentations. And that really directed me towards a career in law. And I think from I was in fourth form to sixth form, that really was something that I wanted to do. Even when I did public administration, which is what my master's is, I really liked law and administrative law and public service. So the areas that I studied have always revolved around the same things. And when I did my teaching at St. John's College, I was only teaching there for a year and a half, and then I went back to study again.
It would appear that you seek the leadership position wherever you are. You had a lot of leadership roles when you were going to college, and then you came back and you just kind of kept yourself at that level. Is it something that you've always aspired to be?
Well, it is something that I wouldn't say aspired, it's something that I always I'm involved in. And for some reason, I don't say for some reason, it's really because of my parents. And my mom and dad really encouraged an environment where you could speak up and you could express your ideas, you could be respectful, but be assertive. And I remember in our home, we talked about a lot of things. My parents were never really political, but we talked about politics. We talked about education. We talked about life. We talked about different things. And I grew up in an environment where you could share your ideas. And when I went to school, that's how I thought that everybody acted. And when I went there, naturally, I don't think that I really sought out any leadership position, but just because of the way I approach certain things, if I see something wrong, I'll say that is wrong. And people used to say, well, Darrell, I think you should do that. You should take up this responsibility. And I was really blessed with the experiences of a lot of teachers who really kind of directed me and said, well, you should do that and you should do that. And eventually I was given the opportunity to serve in student leadership roles when I went to university, serve in leadership roles there. And as a result of that, I got more exposure. And then when I came back into Belize, it just continued to the point where I am today, where you just express your views. I don't necessarily think that I'm the type of person, because a lot of people don't really know me, I'm kind of quiet. But if I'm in a meeting and if we're dealing with a certain topic, I want to ensure that we get the work done. And so I will speak up in the meeting. And I think one of the things I've noticed in Belize is a lot of people don't do that. And so when you do speak up, you kind of tend to be branded a certain way. And it's easy for you, I think, in Belize to become a leader because we don't really have a culture of that assertiveness. And if you speak up, you're going to be somebody who is out there, and you're going to get the opportunities. And I think that is what happened to me. The leadership really fell to me rather than me seeking it out.
Well, I guess because you've been preparing your entire life, your parents prepared you inadvertently, perhaps, for this role, but here you are today. As a lawyer, do you feel that in Belize, that perhaps the people that have money get a different form of justice from the people that don't have money?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think that question is very important. I think one of the big problems that I see in Belize really is inequality. There is, people have actually expressed this to me, that there's really two Belize. There is a Belize for people who have resources, and it's not only financial resources, but it depends on access as well. And there's a Belize for people who do not have. And you can look at the situation even now with respect to the COVID and the legislation that's passed there. I think it disproportionately affects people who don't have it. And so in my classes, I teach this, that justice is really something that's not accessible. I mean, I do think that many people in the justice system try their best, but it's something that we should make accessible to everybody. If you have money in the society, you will get a different quality of justice than somebody who does not. And that's not the case only in Belize, but that's a sad reality of it. And I think those of us in authority should try to make the system more equitable for everybody.
In the next segment, we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that. What we're going to do, we're going to take a break and be back. New Buildings Limited is the company of choice when it comes to design, fabricating and erection of wide-span metal buildings in Belize. At New Buildings, we have a team of well-trained professionals that can produce the most innovative and durable metal structures. Be it domestic or industrial buildings, we can get it done for you. We have put together some of the most outstanding metal structures in the country. We also do estimates and consulting. Visit New Buildings in Spanish Lookout or give them a call at 631-8723 or 610-5185. New Buildings Limited, the experts when it comes to metal structures in Belize.
Here at Coop Sheet Metal, we believe our job is very essential in serving our customers. And that is just one reason why visiting us is an experience to be remembered.
Here at Coop Sheet Metal, we have a reliable fleet of trucks. We specialize in countrywide delivery of all our material.
Coop Sheet Metal is a family business that was started by my grandfather, who even had many of his machines hand-built decades ago to make our products the most reliable in Belize. Come visit us at our new facility on Iguana Creek Road, just past the Belize River leading to Spanish Lookout.
I chose Galen because of its strong reputation.
Great scholarships.
I came because I can take all my classes online.
Because Galen University opens doors to the outside world.
Their course offering in tourism.
It gives you more opportunity to become who I want to be.
If you want to connect with your inner champion to make the world a better place, then Galen is right for you.
PTech has been in Belize now for more than 6 years. We specialize in residential and industrial high-quality glass windows and doors.
I'm Melvin Reimer from Discount Auto Sales. I chose PTech windows because I'm quite impressed about the way they're manufactured. These are double pane glasses. They're called low E. That keeps out a lot of the heat.
Check us out at p-tek.com or give us a call at 671-3842. PTech Windows and Doors, a leader in its class.
Did you know that it's best to keep the lumber stored in a dry place?
At KT Enterprises, all our wood is stored in an enclosed space to provide our clients with the highest quality.
We allow you to personally select your lumber if you choose, and we deliver countrywide.
Be it deck board, beams, and imported hardwoods such as red oak and white ash. At KT Enterprises, we provide you with the highest grade in treated pine, construction grade plywood, and imported hardwood, delivered to your door.
We continue to build Belize by reforesting its pine forest. Visit us today at 2.3 miles Iguana Creek Road or give us a call at 671-0114 or 672-0114.
I choose Happy Cow cheese because of its perfect portion sizes and I can travel with it.
Because it's nice and soft and creamy and it goes smooth on your bread.
I choose Happy Cow cheese because I eat it with my beans. Eat it with my fried jack. And you know why? Because it's nice.
Most of all, when you're on plane, you know they only give you some crackers and you could just take one out and enjoy it with Happy Cow cheese.
I'm Miss Baker and I choose Happy Cow cheese because it goes well with all the stuff I bake.
Happy Cow cheese. Look for it in a store near you. Distributed in Belize exclusively by Emilio Ahmad and Sons Limited.
Me and my Marie shops in Inland Lake.
Me and my Marie Sharp in Indiana.
I'm in Redondo Beach, California with my Marie Sharp.
Me and my Marie shops in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Me and my Marie shop that are Hertfordshire, England.
Me and my Marie Sharps in Taipei, Taiwan.
Marie Sharp, world-class products produced in Belize.
Hello guys, welcome to Friends of Friends.
Friends of Friends Outback. It's the ideal meeting place for any and everyone that's looking to enjoy a great mix of indoor and outdoor comfort while sipping on your favorite drink or eating that tasty meal. They serve all the best in local and international dishes. On Thursdays, it's Mexican night, happy hour all weekend. Fridays, it's wine and dine. On Saturdays, come relax with karaoke tunes, and Sunday is family fun day. The property is equipped with games and other activities to keep everyone entertained and engaged. Friends of Friends also caters to weddings, conferences, and private parties. Visit Friends of Friends at 46 Dewdrop Estate. Follow the signs from mile 11.5 Northern Highway. Friends of Friends Outback, a walking piece of heaven.
Welcome back to Morning Matters. Darrell Bradley in with us this morning. Welcome back, Darrell.
Thank you very much.
Well, there, in the first segment, I'm sure that you all learned something about this fine gentleman that you did not know before. He said he's shy, but he also has a voice when the time calls for it, all right? Were you actively involved in politics before you became an attorney?
I was always really involved in politics even before I became an attorney. I ran for elections for municipal government in 2003 as a councillor. And I actually stood for a standard-bearer post in Pickstock around that same time as well. So ever since I came back from studies in the United States from St. Louis University, I've been pretty much active in politics.
You had that experience and then you went away, got some more education, and then you came back and you eventually ran for the position as mayor. That time you won with a whole lot of support. I mean, it must have been overwhelming for you. What was that experience like?
It was it was twofold. I think anybody who wins a post is thankful and elated about it, but it was actually kind of scary because I remember when they had asked me to run for city council, for mayor, it was something really that I didn't want to do. And before I assume a responsibility, I actually do a lot of research about it. So I did a lot of research about city council. I did a lot of analysis in terms of the financial position, what the authority of the city council was, what the responsibility of the city council was. And when I looked at past holders of the office of mayor, it tends to more than likely be a career killer. I mean, you go into a position and it's very difficult to do well. And that's one of the things that I see in the years. People are placed in certain positions, but the circumstances really define you rather than you define the circumstances. And I came to the conclusion that would have been a very difficult position to hold simply because of where you were. There's an expectation there, and there's not a lot of resources, or there's not a leeway for you to do a lot. But at the end of the day, I kind of told myself, well, this is really what you want to do. And if you would go into a position at the time, which was very, very troubling, you had a situation where there was a lot of low morale at City Hall. You had a situation where the previous mayor was actually charged with a particular offense. There was litigation going on. You had problems with the sanitation contracts. You had union issues. You had people just despondent with City Council on a whole and not paying property taxes. And that's really kind of a difficult challenge. And that's one of the things that I went into.
How would you evaluate your time there? And is there anything that you would have wanted to do that you didn't get the opportunity or the time to do?
I would say that we did pretty good at City Hall. And I think, again, no person is really perfect in terms of their leadership. But one of the things, I think we were able to do a lot. We were able to really get down to the core responsibilities of city management, which is infrastructure. That's the main thing that a city council is responsible for. And we managed to take an organization that was broke, and I would use the word bankrupt, and we managed to really transform that to the point where you're carrying out significant infrastructure projects that you're funding yourself, and you're raising expectations. We did significant park projects, BTL Park, Memorial Park, Battlefield Park. We did a lot of other initiatives in terms of small businesses. We work with the Chamber of Commerce. We work with legislative changes. We did a lot of things with staff, unionization, and so forth. So I think we got a lot of things done, but there's still a few things that I thought that we could have done more. One of the things is that I wanted to, in my term, complete the town hall, the municipal center, the commercial center. And that was something that was started under us, but it was completed under the successive term in government. And there's a few, for example, one of the things that we really worked a lot on was trade license reform, to either cancel trade license or to reduce the payments substantially. And that was a thing that we were working with the business community a lot on. And I left office and we didn't finish that. There's a few things that we really left, probably about 60, 70 or 80% in the pipeline, but it really hasn't come to fruition yet.
Some people may say, you know, Darrell Bradley built a lot of streets. He's the man that's going to be remembered for building a lot of streets, but he did not build enough drains. What would you say to them?
One of the things that I will say here is, and I think that this is one of the my reflections, I think people place a lot of stock in politicians. And I always tell people, do not trust politicians, do not put your hope in politicians. I'm a human being. And one of the things that I find in leadership as well is the thing that most dragged me down is the expectations that people have. Drains cost money, streets cost money. And before I came into office, you didn't have streets and drains. Now you have streets. Now at least you're 50% or 60% there. So that I think what people need to recognize is that all change is a process. And one of the things as a leader that I struggled with is how do you manage that expectation to get people from A to Z when people want to get to Z at day one. And even now, in terms of what our country needs with respect to reform, it's not going to happen overnight. It requires process, it requires serious decision making, it requires struggle and endurance, but we're going to get to that hilltop, but it's going to take us a while. And so one of the things that I'm always mindful of, and somebody told me this, you are only in a position for a certain season. You're not meant to do everything. I wasn't meant to do drains. And I wouldn't say it like that, but that's how I actually feel. I was meant to go to City Hall and to show people what municipal government can be, that it can actually be an arm of government that provides goods and services to people in a meaningful way, so that when you pay your taxes, you get something back. And I was meant to show people that leadership can work, but I'm not the perfect leader. And there are many things that I would have continued to do, but I just didn't do it. So I didn't do drains, but you, and sometimes my wife and I, we always argue about this. I always tell her, and 80% is still pass. And she says, no, you have to get 100%. And I said, no, you have to really take a situation. And when you assess a leader, you assess a person not objectively, but you assess them within the context. We had an environment where you came into which wasn't really doing anything, and you turned it around to a point where it was doing something. Maybe that something is 70%, but that 70% is still 70% more than where you started from. It wasn't 100, but it was still more. And I think that one of the points that I always emphasize is that you have to really appreciate that politics and transformation is a relay race. And you have to be able to develop partnerships and work with people. I will fit in a part of the puzzle, but there's somebody else who will come in there. Even if it's a different government, there's somebody else who will come in there and who will finish the work, because no person and no leader can do everything. And with collaboration, with partnership, with understanding that you're only really in any office for a limited period of time and for a season, you would make an impact. And I think at the end of the day, we did make an impact. If anybody would ask a majority of people in the society if they thought that during that 6 years things happened and we did a good job, I wouldn't say we did a great job, we did a good job. I think people from all political parties, from most walks of life, would, if they were honest with themselves, would say that I can recognize that that 6 years was a good period for the city.
You then decided to run for the privilege of representing the Caribbean shores, the people of the Caribbean shores in the House of Representatives. Why did you choose that division, and what did you learn from that experience?
I went into Caribbean shores because I was always working there. I had worked on the campaign for Carlos Perdomo, and I helped him in his entire time during when he was a representative there. And I had a good relationship with him. I have a lot of friends in that area. My mom and my sister live in that area. And so I felt very connected with people within that community. And when I started to do my initial walkings, I felt that the conversation, for example, when a politician is going to a particular area, you have to make sure that the personalities match. And I felt that when I was walking and engaging with people, like I meshed with the people within the community. I always kind of tell people this as well. When you're interviewing for a job, it's not only that your employer is interviewing you, you are also interviewing your employer. And likewise, when you are going to pick an area, it's not only that the people want you, you have to actually want the people as well, because you have to know that you can engage with them in a meaningful way. You can provide expression to what their opinions are. And so I felt that that was a good fit for me. And I tried it. I worked hard in relation to it, and I lost by 50 odd votes. So that was it's a learning experience for me. I think that I would have had to take responsibility for the loss myself. I mean, it's really something I think perhaps maybe if we would have done a few things differently, it was very difficult to be mayor and be a candidate at the same time. So that in terms of time, and the city is very demanding, and there's a lot of problems that happen every single day. And while I don't really subscribe to the leadership that is on micromanagement, when you are a mayor, you are a manager. You manage the budget and the affairs of the city, and you really have to deal with it if you want things to move forward. And I would have done things differently in terms of really focus a lot on a constituency to try to bring out that victory.
Let's switch a little bit now to you as a lawyer. We noticed that most politicians are lawyers. What do you attribute that relationship to?
Well, I think it is because of the skill set. I think most, and this is when I studied public administration, that's related to law. When I studied law, that's related to public speaking. And politics is really about communication of information and public speaking. So I think the profession really has people gravitate to it who are natural leaders and people who are interested in policy issues and argumentation, which is what politics is all about. So I think most politicians in the world and in the years come from the legal profession because the skill set and the personality set are so linked. A lawyer most times would be an effective politician because all you do is communicate information.
You were an election observer in Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka presidential election. What was that experience like?
Actually, it was pretty fascinating. I really enjoyed the experience in Zimbabwe because it was if you understand the history of Zimbabwe, they've gone through a history of trouble in terms of just the political history. And the election that I observed was the first time that their president, Robert Mugabe, was not on the ballot. And he would have been president, I think, for about 50 years. So for a lot of people from Zimbabwe, it would have represented the first time that they would have internalized like a choice in relation to choosing their presidential leaders. And that was a consolidated election because you had the presidential election, the parliamentary election, and the municipal election at the same time. And just to see how people really appreciated the right to vote. I remember when I was there, people lined up in their queues at 2 o'clock in the morning and polls opened, I think, about 6 or 7. People voted in the tents because it's obviously a large population and there's a significant amount of voters. I remember even when we were counting the ballot, you were counting ballots under tents with candles and with BDF lamps and different things like that, so that people really took the election seriously because they wanted to move away from the past. And I think sometimes in Belize we take for granted the idea of our vote and the power of our vote. And those two experiences really taught me to say that, you know what, don't take those things for granted, because a lot of people in the world don't have that right. And just seeing how those people really respected the right just to cast their vote. And in many cases, they would have been frustrated. They would have felt that their vote may not have mattered, but just to cast their vote, that was something powerful.
On that note, we're going to take a break and be back.
I chose Galen because of its strong reputation, great scholarships.
I came because I can take all my classes online.
Because Galen University opens doors to the outside world.
Their course offering in tourism.
It gives you more opportunity to become who I want to be.
If you want to connect with your inner champion to make the world a better place, then Galen is right for you.
PTech has been in Belize now for more than 6 years. We specialize in residential and industrial high-quality glass windows and doors.
I'm Melvin Reimer from Discount Auto Sales. I chose PTech windows because I'm quite impressed about the way they're manufactured. These are double pane glasses. They're called low E. That keeps out a lot of the heat.
Check us out at p-tek.com or give us a call at 671-3842. PTech Windows and Doors, a leader in its class.
Did you know that it's best to keep the lumber stored in a dry place?
At KT Enterprises, all our wood is stored in an enclosed space to provide our clients with the highest quality.
We allow you to personally select your lumber if you choose, and we deliver countrywide.
Be it deck board, beams, and imported hardwoods such as red oak and white ash. At KT Enterprises, we provide you with the highest grade in treated pine, construction grade plywood, and imported hardwood, delivered to your door.
We continue to build Belize by reforesting its pine forest. Visit us today at 2.3 miles Iguana Creek Road, or give us a call at 671-0114 or 672-0114.
I choose Happy Cow cheese because of its perfect portion sizes, and I can travel with it.
Because it's nice and soft and creamy, and it goes smooth on your bread.
I choose Happy Cow cheese because I eat it with my beans. I eat it with my fried jack. And you know why? Because it's nice.
Most of all, when you're on the plane, you know they only give you some crackers, and you could just take one out and enjoy it with Happy Cow cheese.
I'm Miss Baker, and I choose Happy Cow cheese because it goes well with all the stuff I bake.
Happy Cow cheese. Look for it in a store near you. Distributed in Belize exclusively by Emilio Ahmad and Sons Limited.
Me and my Marie shops in Lake.
Me and my Marie Sharp in Indiana.
I'm in Rhonda Beach, California with my Marie Sharp.
Me and my Marie shops in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Me and my Marie shop that are Hertfordshire, England.
Me and my Marie Sharps in Taipei, Taiwan.
Marie Sharp, world-class products produced in Belize.
Hello guys, welcome to Friends of Friends.
Friends of Friends Outback. It's the ideal meeting place for any and everyone that's looking to enjoy a great mix of indoor and outdoor comfort while sipping on your favorite drink or eating that tasty meal. They serve all the best in local and international dishes. On Thursdays, it's Mexican night, happy hour all weekend. Fridays, it's wine and dine. On Saturdays, come relax with karaoke tunes, and Sunday is family fun day. The property is equipped with games and other activities to keep everyone entertained and engaged. Friends of Friends also caters to weddings, conferences, and private parties. Visit Friends of Friends at 46 Blue Drop Estate. Follow the signs from Mile 11.5 Northern Highway. Friends of Friends Outback, a walking piece of heaven.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of Morning Matters. Mr. Bradley in with us this morning. I have to say again, thank you for stopping and sharing. Money has a very corrosive effect on politics in Belize. Do you think that there needs to be some campaign financing legislation?
I would say yes. And I would say that that would be one of the things that we need as a matter of urgency. I think that one of the things that we have to understand or appreciate is that money will always be in politics. So that elections cost money, and politicians will always need to attract people who would sponsor campaigns. But because of the dangers of that, because of the dangers of influencing a negative kind of politics and promoting a corrupt system, that has to be a very transparent process. The relationship between a politician and a donor has to be very transparent. And I think campaign finance reform has to be something that is an urgency. So one of the things that I would support is the registration of political parties, because political parties in Belize are very powerful, and there's no law that governs political parties. And currently there's no law that governs any monies that a politician collects, so that you can collect any amount of money from any person. And that's, I think, a very dangerous situation. So those are pieces of legislation that I would support. And I actually prepared a draft campaign finance legislation. And I think that that is something that at least can start the conversation, but I think it should be enacted before the election.
Another thing that is on the table is redistricting. Do you think it is necessary, and do you think that it should be done before the election?
Well, I think the second question first, I think perhaps maybe it cannot be done before the election, because redistricting is an exercise that would take a lot of time and a lot of management, so that I don't think we have the time to do that. I think that may take at least perhaps about 8 months to be able to get a perfect redistricting done. But I will add this, that I think that our current structure is undemocratic. The laws in many countries provide for redistricting at each election, because you want to ensure that one person has one vote, and that one vote is equal. So that because populations move, there would be population areas that have increased and have diminished. So that in Belize, you have some constituencies that only have 2,000 voters, whereas in the outer districts, you have areas that have 9,000 voters. So one vote in one area is not weighted the same as a vote in another area. That's undemocratic. So that there has to be redistricting as a matter of urgency to really respect the constitutional principle that every vote matters. And that really has an impact when you deal with things like budgeting, when you deal with things like resources. One of the problems that I've seen is that historically Belize City has been the population center. But over time, that has changed. But the power base has remained in Belize City. Belize City has 10 constituencies, but in reality, the population is not here to support those 10 constituencies. So there needs to be redistricting. I will only add this, though, that it is a mistake to add more area representatives. I think what you need to do is that you need to either lessen the amount of area representatives, or you need to keep it at the same amount, so that what I'm advocating is not that districts, constituencies of district would be split, so that you go from 31 to maybe 38 or 41. That is wrong and a bad idea. More government is a bad idea. What I would think should happen is that there should be a consolidation of certain districts, so that in Belize City, you need to merge some of the districts, so that Belize City would actually go to about 7 or at most 8 constituencies, so that you keep the number at 31 or you lessen the number.
Do you think that the area representatives will find this appealing?
One of the things that you have to appreciate is that politicians should not control the electoral process, because that is a crime called gerrymandering. So that clearly I want a district that I'm going to win in. I mean, who wouldn't want that? But the system of doing this must be transparent and inclusive, so that I, of course, would want to have people who would be UDP supporters in my district, but I shouldn't get to make that decision. The idea is that you should have an independent body that does that, and you should follow election principles which have been developed over the last 1,000 years.
Do you think it's time to have an elected Senate?
I would think that it is time. I think that when we deal with positions of authority, I think all of those positions should be elected positions, so that basically how we deal with our structure in government, there are 3 branches of government, and the legislative branch of government is the branch of government that should be elected. The Senate right now is, I think, by and large, not effective, because it is dominated by the government. We need a balance where there's more power to social partners and there's more power to the opposition. And that could be done if you have an elected Senate. But we need to have a Senate that can actually reject legislation and can propose its own legislation and can be effective beyond just being the second house in the National Assembly.
You've decided to stand for the leader of the United Democratic Party. Why?
Well, I think that it's about a conversation. I'll say this. People look at me, and I've met with delegates, and delegates are concerned because I am not an elected official. I don't have a constituency. So that's a major impediment to my candidacy as leader of the UDP. You can't be the prime minister unless you are elected to a certain office. So, I mean, the campaign for leader is kind of a long shot because of that fact. When I meet with delegates, that's the first question that they ask me: how would you win? And one of the things that I do respond, though, is that I think we need credibility in leadership. And then the second thing is that I think it's not really about the leader. I tell people that it's not about Darrell Bradley being leader of the United Democratic Party. It's not about Darrell Bradley being prime minister of Belize. It's about the conversation and the way as a society we make decisions. So that when I'm here on this show, I'm talking about campaign finance reform. One of the things that I will promote is term limits for elected officials. And the idea that I think my candidacy brings and why I think it's useful is that I can promote discussion and dialogue. So that one of the things that I maintain is that the United Democratic Party has always talked about legislation for unjust enrichment. That was something that was in our 2008 manifesto. And we're now at 13 years and we still don't have the legislation. So one of the things that I would try to do even as a candidate, is promote a discussion on these kinds of ideas. So even if I lose, the ideas are still out there.
But I think one of the things that is also important to realize that on election day, nobody has an office. Nobody is responsible for Caribbean shores or the minister of this or the minister of that. They're just people looking to be reassigned. So I think on that day you will have fair play as well. What would you say about that?
I mean, when the house is dissolved, it's dissolved. Everyone loses their authority. So from that vantage point, everything is fair game. And I think that it is in terms of leadership, I think that it is very important that whoever leads the country, as a society, we need to keep that person on track. And that person needs to have credibility in terms of the stances that they have taken. That person needs to have vision. That person needs to be somebody who can bring people together as a collaborator and can build consensus. And those are the three critical areas. And I think my candidacy is really about that, having a discussion on what really type of leadership we want in this country. How can we move the country forward? One of the things that I've always seen in Belize is that we don't really talk about ideas. In politics, it's never about ideas. Vote for me because PUP thief. Vote for PUP because UDP thief. So that it's really that like you're there and you say, okay, then I know they offer you nothing, but I want to be the leader because the other one bad. And I think that that is a very disappointing discussion. It's about the ideas and what individuals and institutions can bring for the improvement of everyone. And I think one of the things you asked me about campaign finance reform, but one of the things that really needs to be passed is that to ensure that people in the National Assembly are only there for a maximum of 10 years, 2 terms. And I think if you can do that, you have really like a cycling of leadership. And the leadership will really be about what it should be about. Integrity, it should be about ideas, and it should be charting a vision. And related to this is the idea that we should have public service reform, that the public service should be strengthened, and a politician's role is only to go there to be a policymaker and to chart a vision, but the public service is who really implements the policies of government.
Any result in the leadership competition, if you want to call it that, will result in some form of a divide in the party. So regardless of what. So if you were to win, how would you bridge that gap?
Well, I will talk to people. I'm an engager of persons. Several of the candidates who are running, I've already met with them. So the first thing that what I did when I put in my candidacy is to reach out to the other candidates. I want to know what you're about. What do you stand for? So that I know what I stand for and I want to contribute something. So let's see how this is about. And if I were to win, I would want to have that same relationship with those other people. Leadership is, I said, a relay race. It's a team game, but it's not about us. My idea is that I want to be there to contribute to the development of my country. So if I lose, I won't have a problem with working with anybody else, but you have to work for the transformation of the country. I'm not going to encourage any type of corruption or any type of untoward behavior. And if people are on the same page with consensus, I think that you could get a lot done.
The Belizean economy is contracting. Unemployment is skyrocketing. Foreign exchange is disappearing. The external debt is growing. Why do you think that you have a solution for all of these growing problems?
I think that the solution is there. And I know I've participated in a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of plans, policies, and programs in relation to how to transform our economy. I think right now we have been affected substantially by COVID. But one of the things that I will say is that COVID is not our problem. One of the fundamental problems in Belize is how we make decisions as a nation. The government is too powerful and we have too much of a centralized system of making decisions. And if you want the best decisions to be made, you have to be a conduit for bringing together bright ideas. One of the things that I think we need to do in Belize is go into the area of energy production. One thing Belize has a lot of is sun. Why is it that we don't produce solar panels, wind energy, or solar energy? One of the things that we need to do is that we need to diversify the Belizean economy. Tourism will always be our mainstay, but there are areas of production that we can go into in terms of agriculture and agro-processing that we can create a lot of jobs. And one of the things that I think needs to be done is that this has to be the responsibility of the Prime Minister. I think at any given moment, I notice at City Hall, at any given moment, there is about $1 billion in projects just waiting to be implemented, but they're stalled because a ministry is working late or some document hasn't been signed. What you need to do as the Prime Minister is that you need to be the chief implementer. You need to be able to meet with people. You need to be able to engage with the Chamber of Commerce, engage with international partners, say that, okay, then this is what we're going to do as a country, and you need to make those things work. When you become a leader, I think that your main focus is to solve problems. Nobody elects you to complain. And so being in the position of a leader of the United Democratic Party, I'm already talking to people about what can be done from day one to move the country forward. None of the things that I've put out there as my policies in terms of economic development are new or far-fetched.
What is your vision for Belize?
My vision is to promote a Belize that addresses inequality. I think that a big problem in Belize is inequality. We have people in Belize who are well off, but we have too many Belizeans who are not able to provide for themselves. So that I would address a series of plans and platforms that would bring people into the middle class. Some of the things that I would promote are things like land reform. We've talked about this as a country before, but ensuring Belize has never had a fair land policy. Housing, in Jamaica, you have the National Housing Trust, where people pay a small amount, but you can access a range of housing options. If you allow people to have land and housing, that's entry into the middle class because they can go to the bank and they could borrow a small loan to open a business or so forth. So if you do those basic things, you would provide a lot. I would advocate for a living wage. Other countries in the world that like Barbados and Canada have done this, so that you have a minimum salary that every Belizean should make. And there's a series of policies that I would implement. I know you're running out of time, but really and truly my vision would be on redressing the idea of inequality and working with people. I think that too much of our politics is not about ideas and not about collaboration. And Darrell Bradley as a leader would be about ideas and collaboration.
This conversation has been too short. I definitely look forward to having another discussion with you, perhaps when election comes nearer. But I have to say, thank you for stopping and sharing your ideas with us this morning. Anything you'd like to leave us with?
It's just my pleasure, and I really appreciated this time sharing a little bit about my personality and a little bit about my vision and so forth. And I welcome the opportunity to sit with you at any given time in the future. I know my brother has been on the show. I watch your show on a regular basis. I'm very encouraged. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to just share with your viewers on a little bit about myself and my ideas.
Thank you so much. And I talk to you soon. Have a good day.